Oft, by the way. Welcome to kpfitandwell.co, sponsored by the podcast Studio Glasgow. And it's me, KP, your host, who is once again spoiling you with a real belter of an episode this week. I've got Amanda Thebe with me, and she's the best-selling author of Menopocalypse. She is a fitness expert, so she's in the same game as me. She gets it. We know we're up to our eyes in pure bullshit right now with all the perimenopause and menopause crap that's getting missold to us poor birds. And guess what, me and Amanda, we ain't having it. We're just not having it anymore. So I can't wait for you to listen to this episode. Give me a wee like, give me a wee review, and I would much appreciate it. But anyway, enjoy this episode. It's a fucking belter. You look good.
Yeah, I have to because it's so fucking dark here and miserable. You know, we've had no sunshine and it's driving. Well, you're in Scotland, so there you go.
Artificial sunlight on the ring light. It's the only light I get here. Do you know what I mean?
I know. I still love Scotland though. Is it bad? Has the menopause market exploded? Yes, it has, and there's a number of reasons for this. I believe, right? So, yes, the algorithm is definitely pushing it towards us. You look up menopause once and then you know you're going to get all of these targeted ads usually, right? I think what's happened is, you know, we've been craving knowledge about menopause for so long. Like, we're desperate for it, right? So, you know, there's people like myself and you and others that are like trying to get valid information or knowledge out there. But at the same time, people are like, well, if this is what we're talking about, then that's an opportunity for us, right? And the amount of snake oil that exists in menopause right now it's incredible. And I think the estimated market now, I hope I get this right, is something like $16.1 billion. And the majority of that is based around supplements.
Yes.
Unproven, unregulated. Mm-hmm. And they're like these concoctions that are promising women the world. And to me, that should be illegal. Now, in the USA, we can report things to the FTC, and if people are making false claims, you can submit a report to the FTC, and they can,
Okay,
and
cool.
they do sometimes withdraw them, but it's out of control to the point where it's like dropping a pebble in the water. It's not making a huge difference.
Won't do. Like, me and you could just make a supplement up right now. We've got a
That's what
platform
people
of
do.
women. Like, me and you could plaster like your face on it. We could deep fake Davina McCall.
No thanks.
Saying it's good. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so
That's
easy.
what happens. And the celebrity endorsement is a problem, which is why I said no thanks, because you know, you've got people like Davina McCall or Davina McCall. Sorry,
and then we've got the other one that's quite similar, Davinia
Taylor, which I actually think she is a problem. But the problem for me with Davina McCall is she's a well-known, maybe well-loved celebrity. I don't know, because I'm not in the UK anymore.
She is.
She is, yeah. So you know, if somebody who you sort of like and sort of respect starts talking about something, you're going to listen, right? And so she did all of that work about menopause awareness with her documentaries, and I think women appreciated that, and it helped elevate like the conversation. But then she'll like latch onto things like Zoe with personalized nutrition and continuous glucose monitors, and then the glucose goddess. The other day, when the glucose goddess posted her new anti-spike supplement, Davina was like, woo, 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 in the comment. And I was like, oh,
I saw your comment. You were like, no, Davina.
It's a definite no.
No. Because that is fucking terrible, man. I saw it and I was like, Davina, man. But there's loads of other celebrities like saying, oh, well done, as if there's like a group of people that, right, you need to go and comment now on the glucose goddess because she's just launched that. You're like, what the fuck is going on?
No, so like in their defense, maybe it's because they're friends with her and they want to support a new venture, and maybe they don't have the time to do the discerning, like, deep dive into what the science is and blah, 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 blah. In my opinion, you should just be quiet and just not say anything. If you don't know what you're endorsing, be quiet. You've got people like Stephen Bartlett, whose message is all over the place.
fuck, man.
Because he's got investments in different ventures that skew his bias. And then he gets guests on that he supports and endorses their messages that completely contradict everything he's said outside of his like business ventures, etc., etc. The fact of the matter is, none of these people are experts in a field. They're celebrities, they're media people. Why are we
100%.
listening? Why are we
I
listening to
don't
them?
know. Marketing, like what you said earlier on, women are desperate. I get loads of DMs, you'll be the same. Is there a supplement that I could take? I don't promote any supplements, like, because it's not the magic. To me, it's like, the cold plunges where I'm seeing people in their blue wheelie bins over here with a cigarette hanging out their mouth, and I'm like, it's not the magic. It's
Is that
not
what
the.
they're doing?
Oh, fucking hell, man, yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
A glass of wine, a
Yeah.
cigarette in the mouth, in a wheelie bin, cold bin.
Breathing.
I need you to recreate that. That's really
I
funny.
have. I'm going to tag you in it. But that's like, you see it on Instagram, you're like, ah, right, okay. You know what I mean? And then people spending a fortune on, how the little glucose, what basically Davina
Let's,
McCall's do. What are you
let's
doing?
talk about that. Let's
Let's
talk about
talk
that.
about
So
that, because, I mean, I'm really busy with the kids and my business. I don't have also time to track my fine glucose levels, like, that's meant to spike and meant to drop. Why am I
well,
bothered?
that's exactly it. It's a human physiological response when you eat mainly carbohydrates. It does it with other macronutrients, but you're going to get this spike because that's what the body does. It converts carbohydrates into glucose. You're going to get a physiological response that's expected, and then it responds as well by dropping, and that's what
Yeah.
we do. If you're a diabetic, the problem is that your spikes, potentially are too high, and you need to manage those levels. And a continuous glucose monitor would probably be something that's advisable for someone who has diabetes. In fact, that's what they were created for. Everybody else does not need one, right? Now, I've
Do you
seen
know
the
how much that
arguments.
is, Amanda? Do you know how much
A
the
couple of
cost
hundred.
is for that? It's
Yeah,
like £280 to like
yeah,
£300. That's
yeah.
that's a lot for people. For
Well, it's not, it's privilege, right? This is what
yeah.
privileged health looks like. This is what health looks like when you don't look at the social determinants that impact how healthy we are. And the social determinants, for anyone listening, I know you know what this is, but for people that are listening, are things like your economic level, your access to work, like your support network, your community, access to healthcare, like even access to things like voting, not even be able to get to the voting booth. All of these determinants actually impact the quality of your health. And then when you've got these £300 glucose monitors for sale saying this is the optimum thing you need, as well as your cold plunge and blah, 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 it's just so like, it's privileged, it's wankery, it's to me, and it's pretty insulting as well, because you're just not looking at the fact that people can barely put food on their tables at the moment. It's so bloody expensive just to
Yep.
feed a family. But the glucose goddess, what's really interesting about that is that it's clearly a scam. It's a grift. It's been clear from the get-go. But there was a comment on Jen Gunter's post from an endocrinologist who said, and I'm quoting, I'm trying not to be a gossip, but she said, about 8 years ago, whatever the glucose goddess's name is, contacted me and said, can you tell me if you think there's a market in selling continuous glucose monitors to healthy, normal human beings? Because I think we should. And the endocrinologist was said, no, no, and
Fucking juicy as fuck.
obviously not. Yeah, and so she was an opportunist looking for a gap in the market.
You know? But what's really amazing is the amount of shit people can like say without it being even regulated on Instagram, like people with no qualifications. I mean, I know a bit about perimenopause, menopause from talking to people like yourself, reading books from Jen, but I'm not an expert in it. So in my membership, I have a woman that's a nurse who's an expert in menopause. I don't come on my Instagram and start saying all this stuff because that's not my expertise. So I think it's crazy how people have started to do this. I'm flabbergasted that we even have to have this podcast about it. Do you know what I mean?
I think snake oil salesmen have always existed. I mean, obviously the term comes from when people used to sell, like potions and lotions to cure all
Mm-hmm.
ailments, right? But it's just, I think, the world we live in with social media. We're on our phones all the time,
Yeah.
and we're scrolling, and it's opportunistic. Like, there's the amount of times I get an ad from Better Body and Daily Mammoth who are selling um, menopause supplements, which we don't know what they contain. Well, and if you look at the ingredients, none of them are going to do anything for you. They're expensive, maybe like 40, 50 pounds a month. And they make claims like it will balance your hormones, it will fix your metabolism as though it's
Wow.
broken, it will fix your joint pain. And they just make claims that are not substantiated. Now, I think Daily Mammoth have been reported to the FTC and have been investigated, but they're still selling and they're still
Yeah.
scamming. And so, I mean, it's too lucrative a market for them not to do this. And women are vulnerable. They're hurting. They're not getting heard by their doctors. They're spinning their wheels and they just
Mm-hmm.
want to do something to help themselves. And these people come along with this compelling information and they're like, all right, this is how we crack the code. Have to fast every day. I have to have vinegar before every meal. I have to cold plunge. It's fucking exhausting. Who's got
It's
the time to
fucking
do all
crazy.
of that?
Nobody. That's what I'm saying to you. Like, no one, and unnecessary as well.
Yeah.
But what
It,
but what we're selling maybe doesn't sound as shiny, and I'm like that. Let's look at your lifestyle. Let's give it 6 months. People are like, oh no, fuck that. I'll just have the anti-spike stuff and I'll eat what I want and all that. Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh, so it's like
right. And
tough for us
this
now.
and it's a really good point actually about the boring stuff that we talk about is the stuff that's been studied, right? So you've got it's like Heart Awareness Month, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
most women will die of heart attack. That's like our number one killer. And so we have known ways to help improve your heart health. Now, if you've got genetic issues or you've already got disease, you're under medical care. But regardless of if you're on medication or not, exercise is the number one recommended activity to do, or lifestyle choice to do, by the British Heart Association and every single heart association around the world. Right. So inside of you taking statins or anything for
Yeah,
hypertension, you still need to do that. Improving your diet to reduce the amount of saturated fat, to have more whole foods and vegetables and fruits and grains, etc. And obviously protein is important as well. So, just tidying up our diet a little bit, even a fraction can make a huge, reducing smoking, reducing drinking. These are boring,
but
but
that
they
sounds
work.
shit compared to like
Stress
us
management.
us filming ourselves in a cold plunge wheelie bin. It sounds shit. So obviously, when I'm saying everything you've said, and I'm agreeing because it's people are like, oh, but what's
But then
Davinia doing?
the last part of the conversation is for menopausal women, hormone therapy. In the UK, I hear all the time that menopause hormone therapy, or HRT as they call it
Yeah.
there, is people should be taking it for their heart health.
Yes.
None of the menopause societies, none of them recommend it for disease prevention, and there's just not enough
Yeah.
information to
We've got a
say
lot of that now in the UK.
that
We've got it.
HRT
Yeah.
is to be issued for heart health. No,
Well,
there's just not enough. And
yeah,
and
I
in
know.
fact,
Dementia
when
as well. Like, and there's nothing to say that it works for dementia, but I wouldn't dare touch anyone that's saying that because in the UK this is like a new thing. Like even
yep,
telling women to start taking it earlier because it'll prevent things like your heart conditions, dementia. I'm like, there is no evidence
no.
really to support that, but
So the British Menopause Society, the Endocrine Society, and the Association of Gynecologists and Obstetricians issued a joint statement. And it said categorically, after reviewing every single piece of data that existed, that hormone therapy cannot be issued for disease prevention, and menopause should not be treated as a disease or a deficiency.
yeah,
Fact. Right. So if
wow.
you know that, then that's not what you do. And if you're worried about your heart health and the risk does increase after menopause, it doesn't mean it's inevitable. And it doesn't mean like if the risk is zero point 0.5, it increases to 1. I mean, you need to understand what the risk is. But if you know that your risk increases, going through menopause and because you're getting older, because let's face it, men go through this too,
Yeah.
then you got to get on top of all of the lifestyle stuff because it's the thing that works that we know.
Yeah, because it helps
Right.
the aging process, you know, and that's what you've just said as well. Guys age as well. You'll have guy clients, I've got guy clients who are running into other problems as well. But I think that it's really pushed over here and it's so confusing. It's went full circle. So I remember like my mum's kind of generation, like no to HRT, it's breast cancer causing. We had the kind of time where everybody was taking it, popping it like Smarties. Then everybody got scared of it because of the breast
Yeah.
cancer thing. But now everybody is back on it. So it's like, it's quite a hard, it's very murky waters for people to sort of navigate.
It shouldn't be though, because the information about who should take it and why they should take it is really, really clear. It's not negotiable. So the women that should take it are those who are struggling with symptoms of menopause. And the symptoms that it's indicated for are vasomotor symptoms, so your hot flashes, night sweats, cold sweats. The GSM, which is the genital urinary symptoms of menopause, sometimes called vaginal atrophy, but that name's being replaced now because it impacts more than just your vagina. So
Yeah.
the
Is
GSM
that
symptoms,
the cream you can put on your...
you
like,
can
is that-
get cream and you can get, if you take systemic hormones like the HRT, as you call it in the
Yes.
UK, that can help with GSM, but some women also need to take localized estrogen. HRT is also indicated for those women who are at high risk of osteoporosis, and it's typically those that go through menopause younger,
Okay.
right? And it's not indicated for anything else, nothing else. But
Wow.
they do believe that there are some yellow label benefits to taking it. And that might be things like it might improve mood, it might improve depression, not for all women though, right? And then if you've got really bad sleep issues, say the hot flashes are keeping you up and you've got terrible insomnia, it can help with that, which also might help with your stress levels and the impact of
Yeah.
your other symptoms. So there's this cascading. So, and that's why a lot of women go on it and feel really good. And so good, if you've got symptoms and you're indicated to go on hormone therapy, that's great. But let's just talk about it for what it is and not for what it isn't. That's my problem. Like when people are selling it as this magic drug, you need to understand that there are many women that will never be able to take it, right?
Yes.
They're
Was that not you?
contraindicated.
Did you originally
Yeah,
take it and it didn't work for you or something? Like
yeah.
perimenopausal time? And you were thinking, this is the fucking magic cure, I'm ready for it. Davina McCall's on it, and you took it and it was like, no.
Yeah, I took it before Davina. Like it was about, yeah, it was
You're
a
the
while back.
OG, you're the original gangster for HRT. Fuck
It
Davina.
didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. It made my symptoms worse. It made me almost suicidal. It was such a terrible experience. So there's women that are sensitive to hormones. There's women that can never take it if they've had breast cancer. They may be contraindicated, and there's women that choose never to take it. So those women in that category there, are we going to die young? Are we going to get Alzheimer's and heart disease because we're not on hormone
Well,
therapy? Well, no, that's not what the stats are saying, right? Dr. Pauline Mackey, who's a neuroscientist in the USA, is the leading neuroscientist who's looking at the association between hormone therapy and brain fog, that umbrella term that
okay.
impacts everything. And
Yeah.
she said the number needed to treat of women who take hormone therapy, you would have to have 2004 women taking hormone therapy for one woman to benefit for helping their brain fog.
So,
That's from the International Menopause
is
Society.
that from the... Wow.
Right. So hormone therapy is not indicated for brain fog. Now, if you're not sleeping and you're stressed and you've got hot flashes and they're helped by hormone therapy, there might be a knock-on effect, right? But when you look at what the data is showing, there's not enough data to say that that's what it's
That's
indicated for.
mind blowing, isn't it? Over here, there is this massive push on testosterone. Huge. Like, again, not to keep bringing her up, but Davina is really pushing testosterone over here. And how do you feel about that? Is it something we should be taking? Like, I don't know, Amanda. I come from like the bodybuilding world where I've trained with guys and they take the steroids. They're actually probably more clued up than us women on their hormones, by the way, but they're like taking certain things and you
Yeah.
have to be careful and checking levels and they're very on it. And then I kind of get my female clients that have went and paid a private doctor and they're just willy-nilly just putting cream on and forgot their patch for 2 days. I'm just going to put more of this testosterone cream on. I'm like, fuck, it just seems unregulated again over here. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, should we be taking all this stuff? I'm
So
36. I need to know what I'm ordering here.
what you're ordering, yeah. So again, not my opinion, but what the menopause societies and the medical organizations are saying. That's what we should be listening to. We shouldn't be listening to people's just opinions or Janet down the streets taking testosterone. I better get on it. So whereas estrogen and progesterone fall through menopause, testosterone falls through aging. Right?
Yes.
It just sort of happens to sort of fall around about the same time, but it's not part of the menopause process. When women go on hormone therapy, so I'll start again. So if testosterone is to be part of the conversation, the recommendation is that women go on hormone therapy to see if that helps with their symptoms. And if it does, then testosterone is not needed. You can't go on testosterone without trying estrogen and progesterone first, right? And testosterone is currently only indicated for low libido, nothing else. Now, Dr. Susan Davis is the lead researcher in the Australasian Menopause Society, looking at all of the data for testosterone. And right now, we can't make any claims that it helps with brain fog, and you can't make any claims that it'll help with your exercise performance or joint pain. It's only indicated for low libido. But let's face it, it's an anabolic steroid. You're going to feel good when you go on it, right? No doubt about it. And in the US, so there's no female preparations for this apart from in Australia, I believe, and so you have to take a man's dose, but it's usually like a tenth of the dose, right? So it's very difficult to be precise with it. So if somebody's prescribing you testosterone, you're also then going to have very, very regular blood tests to make sure your levels don't go too high. In the USA, people get testosterone pellets. They're unregulated. It tends to be in the South, like in Texas, where I used to live. Almost every clinic would inject a pellet into your bum of a supra psychological doses, so almost like a PED, like a performance enhancing drug.
Holy shit.
Women go on it and feel amazing because
but
of course,
in the gym, do you know what I mean? Lifting more than your man, easy. Do you know what I mean?
It's crazy. But the side effects are so severe, as in, it can change the shape of your clitoris. It can give you an Adam's apple. It can create baldness
and everything.
All of those things. So but that's with really high doses. If you're getting testosterone off your doctor and in the UK, and it's a man's preparation, because it would have to be, or a compounded one, you're using like a microdose of it, and if it doesn't help with your libido, the recommendation is you don't stay on it. All right, so there's really
only
specific
libido?
Yes,
I find it such a tricky thing, libido, as well, when female clients are chatting about it, because I'm like, they'll tell me what their day's like, and their day's shit. So they're pairing their socks for everyone in the house. They're doing the kids, they're doing everything. And then the guy wants to have sex with them at night and then says they've got low sex drive if they don't want. I'm like, nobody would want to have sex in your current lifestyle. So I find it quite a tricky thing to just say, right, okay, let's try testosterone cream and then we'll keep your man happy. Then it means you can pair his socks and have sex at night. Do you know what I mean? So I find this a tough thing.
The thing is, I've spoken to people. This is not my area of expertise, but I have lived experience of this, right? Like losing my sex drive, and I could not take testosterone. As soon as I put a dot on me, the next day I had the worst migraine I've had.
Oh, wow.
And every single time I tried it, it just took me down for like weeks. It was just not worth it. But I was concerned about my sex drive. And then when I started speaking to experts in this field, most of the experts in this field are psychological, like the psychologists, because like you said, it's the brain body connection. It's like, you're not going to feel like having sex if you don't have desire. Libido and desire and arousal are all sort of separate, and you need to be really connected with your partner, whether it's a man or a woman, right? It doesn't really
100%.
actually make any difference, right? You've got to want to be with that person. And so it's like open communication, being more affectionate, actually doing, like, even if you wanted to create an almost a schedule so that, if it's
Yeah.
important to you, you sort of prioritize it. And that's totally okay. And it can feel different as you get older, and it can look different as you get older. But yeah, I think that like if testosterone is really helpful for you in that, then that's so great. But it's not the missing piece of the puzzle that everybody keeps saying. It's honestly not supposed to be used for anything other than libido. And, I think one of the things I would add to this is one, I'm very pro HRT. Like, I think every woman, if she
Hmm.
needs to be on it, should at least have the conversation to see if it's a good fit.
Yeah, we shouldn't suffer.
No, if you can't take it, there's tons of non hormonal pharmaceuticals. Like, I ended up having to go on an antidepressant for my migraines and depression, and it really was life changing for me. Right. And yet they get a bad rap all the time. And yet there's evidence to show that they can be
I know.
helpful.
I think people
Right.
like to be as natural, and people think I'm going to say no to it. But see if it takes the edge off of things for you to then start putting in better habits and things, and your head's more in the game, then that is what's working for you, isn't it?
If you're not living, you need to
Fuck.
do whatever it takes. And I think that the one thing I would say to women though is hormone therapy is a drug. It's a very powerful, important drug. And it's not like, I think I've heard somebody, the woman who did the menopause scandal woman, I don't know, the Scottish woman. She did the documentary with Davina, Kate
Okay. Yeah.
Muir.
Yeah. Yeah.
She calls body identical or HRT natural hormones. It's not.
Yeah.
Why would you
I
call
don't know.
something, because it's synthesized in a lab,
Yeah.
it's chemically made. It doesn't matter what the original source of it was.
Why is that being called things like that then? Is that just a confusing marketing term like this?
Right? I think so. I asked that same person the same question once, actually, and she just said it helps women make this easier to understand. And I'm like, well, that's insulting because we're more than capable of
Thanks.
understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, I
Wow.
mean, all medication you take is a drug, and so
Yeah.
treat it as such. Be respectful of it, right? And yeah, and if it works for you, fine. But I mean, I see the problem I see is now menopause equals hormone therapy. Menopause is way bigger than that. It's everything. We're not defined by it, but if we're struggling with it, regardless of what pharmaceutical route you go down, if you're not looking at the big rocks of lifestyle, then you're not like ticking all of those boxes, and you're not doing the best for your body. And it's like you said, you might be on hormone therapy or an antidepressant, but then you're drinking your wine and smoking your fag in a
Yeah.
wheelie bin. Well, then that's not going to do you much good, is it? Right. So
No.
let's look at this big picture and know that usually any of these things we've spoken about, whether it's supplements or glucose monitors or like overselling hormone therapy for what it isn't, follow the money, go down and just
Yeah.
say, is there an incentive at the end of this? Is there somebody at the end of this that's making a lot of money? Are they doing this in an altruistic way? Now, I don't believe people shouldn't make money. I think we all should have the ability
Yes.
to make money, but we can do that in an ethical way.
This is what I
For
think.
example, for
Yeah.
example, there is a doctor in the UK, and she's my go-to resource for menopause. Anise Mukherjee, Dr. Anise Mukherjee.
I'm going to
She's called.
look her up.
She's the hormone doc on Instagram, and she is a consultant
Is it the
endocrinologist.
woman
And
with a bob? You mean?
she, yeah, and she's an
Yeah.
Indian woman, yeah,
No,
and
no, that's
she.
not who I mean. I'm talking about the lady that's called the Hormone Doctor on Instagram. She's an English posh lady with a bob. Have you seen her?
Oh, Louise Newsom.
Yes.
No, that's not who I'm referring to. And I'm referring to, she's an East Indian woman, Anise Mukherjee, but she is truly a menopause expert because she's a consultant endocrinologist, meaning she understands hormones, and she's a menopause specialist. And she often sees women that
Qualified.
she's qualified, and she's very balanced in her messaging, and she, prescribes hormone therapy every day, but she sees real complex cases. And she's also a breast cancer survivor. So she's somebody that,
Cool.
truly
Okay.
understands the impact of what it would mean if she were to take hormone therapy. It's an absolute no. There's no chance she could ever do it. And so I think that if you gonna follow people, like follow people that have got the science behind them, that have got the accreditations. They're potentially not going to be on Instagram that much because they're too busy doing their real
That is so
job.
true. They've got real
Right.
jobs. Yeah. Yeah, that's
And
so true.
right. So that's, I mean, she's just a great resource. And there are other doctors out there doing an amazing job as well. But the problem is I think sometimes fame, fame and notoriety sort of go hand in hand, and they sort of like that, like
Yeah.
taste of it,
I think
unfortunately.
a lot of people are kind of washed up as well, and that they maybe are doing it out the goodness of the heart, but they just don't have the knowledge there, and they're maybe listening to other people, and then they're also kind of spreading that information of getting a lot of that kind of maybe personal trainers sort of just giving out all this information, and it's just a bit out their league. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with saying you don't know the answer to this. Maybe you should go and just how you've gave me this woman's name, and I'm going to go and look her up because she's a
There's
qualified
nothing wrong.
person.
There's nothing wrong with saying I don't know the answer to that. There's nothing wrong with saying I
Yeah.
don't know the answer. So I have a Facebook group and it's quite big and it's a private group and there's women in there. And I had to delete a post and sort of warn somebody the other day because someone was asking a question about their hormone therapy and somebody within there said, "Oh, you're not taking enough. You just need to add about 4 more pumps to your daily dose." And I'm like, there's not a single doctor in the world that would ever say this in a social media platform. You need to go to your healthcare provider and have a consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And the same person also said, "Oh, and by the way, it's wrong about the fact that if you've had breast cancer that you can't take hormone therapy. You definitely can. There's a book out there that tells you that you can take it." And I'm just
The
like,
medical
how
medium.
how dare you give somebody medical advice? You're a layperson. What you can say and what we should say is, you know what worked for me and you know what didn't work for me,
Yes.
and this has been helpful to me. Why don't you go back to your doctor and have this type of conversation? Like, that's guidance and that's support. You cannot tell people they should be increasing their dose. In no other medication have I ever
No.
seen someone say, "Why don't you increase your
Pop it.
antidepressants or increase your statin? Just take a few more pills."
Yeah, it's
Stop
crazy. But
it.
do you know, it's crazy how people even want to take the responsibility of that on as well. I would never just say to some, because I don't
No.
want that. I'm like, go, whoever you got that cream from, you need to go back to them. I don't want the responsibility of telling somebody to up their dose of whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
out
it's
the
a,
realms of what I'm doing. So I prefer to get people on to kind of share their experiences and chat about it. Like how you're spreading the information is perfect now, just giving people how your experience was. Because I remember you telling me that you put weight on, and this is a huge thing. So I don't know about, I'm really want to get to the bottom of this, but they don't know why women put weight on, do they? There's not been this is the reason, it's estrogen, it's progesterone. They don't, but I get a
yeah.
lot of people selling the menopause diet because you've put pounds on, and I'm like,
Yeah. And they've cracked the code. Well,
uh,
we know how weight loss happens. You know, we know the science
yes,
behind it. Like, we understand the laws of thermodynamics and energy balance, but trying to do that in menopause can be a shit show, right? And it's a multifaceted answer because we understand that how weight loss happens. Like being in this energy deficit.
yes,
You've got way more hurdles to jump in menopause. And, it's really, really challenging. And there isn't one specific menopause diet. And lots of different things work for lots of different people. But you're fighting the fact that you're more hungry and you're less satisfied with food because your hunger hormones are out of whack. You're
yeah,
fighting the
your
fact that you've got
sleep,
so many symptoms. Yeah, you can barely get off the sofa and you sleep shit, so you've got no energy, so you're probably eating more without even realizing, and then moving a little bit less without even realizing. So, first of all, stop giving yourself a hard time. Secondly, let's fix some of the big issues, which are probably you're not sleeping well and you're probably really stressed. So why don't you get those aligned and try and work on those? Because we know they impact weight, right? When
yes,
you're stressed, you're going to eat more. You get more
a million
cravings when you
percent.
eat more, right? All of these things, right? So it's challenging, but there's no right or wrong answer to doing this. And if you don't like eating breakfast and you want to do intermittent fasting, then do it.
Yeah,
But truthfully, lots of women don't do well on that. They feel like a dirty dish rag. They're exhausted not
what about
eating.
No, I it's a terrible trigger for me doing the fasting. It just creates lots of binging, out of control eating. I think it's terrible. But obviously, have you seen like the? She's a chiropractor. She's not a doctor, but talking about fast like a girl and really promoting like these 36-hour
She's
fasts.
she's terrible. She's actually a quack. I
What the
mean,
fuck is
Doctor,
that about?
she's called Mindy Peltz, and she's not a doctor, and
On Stephen
legally,
Bartlett.
yeah, legally, she has to declare she's not a medical doctor. She's a chiropractor, and a chiropractor in the USA and Canada is classified as pseudoscience. Now, she shouldn't be talking about hormones at all. It's way outside of her scope. Almost everything she says is not backed up by data. She even created this post the other day, and I called her out on it because I was so furious. And it was like, if you fast for 36 hours, you can reduce cancer by 30%.
Shut up.
Reduce the risk, reduce your cancers if you have cancer. And I'm like, you know what?
It's
That's,
horrible.
it's horrible,
It's
right? You
horrible.
know, and so, and I looked up the study she was talking about, and there's no 30% in that
What was her
study.
response back to you for you
Well,
kind of
she
call?
doesn't, she didn't
Nah,
respond. She doesn't
nah, she's
care.
like that fucking that crazy cow.
She's on every single podcast you can name.
All of
They're
them.
and Ranji Chatterjee, Stephen Bartlett. They've all gone down in my estimation because they just want, it's a business. They just want
I
people
know
with.
we need to remember that at the end of the day. But saying things like that about the cancers, it's so damaging, isn't it? Like, I've got OCD, that kind of intrusive thoughts. I used to get really triggered by stuff like this because my mum had cancer. So then you're reading this and then you're going, right, okay, writing this down. But it's so horrible for people to get
Yeah.
that much misinformation and that much shite in it at the one time.
And
Terrible.
I think you nailed it on the head, and about the disordered eating. And a lot of people don't think they have disordered eating, but if you're going into the kitchen and going, "Oh, I can only eat brown bread, not white bread. Oh, I'm not allowed to have
Fuck that.
dairy. Oh, the gluten's bad for me. Or there's too much sugar in this."
Inflammation in there.
All of
Like,
those things, right? You're creating restrictions and rules. Now awareness is different, and if you can learn to distinguish between the fact that you're making a choice, okay, like, I really want to focus on protein first, and I want to have a plate full of vegetables, but you have to allow the flexibility to be able to eat the food you really enjoy. And all of these rules and restrictions create such a messed up view of food, and morals around food. This is good, this is bad. And we know that eating disorders increase during this hormonal phase, like they did in
I know.
puberty.
That's so interesting it's crazy. But I think as well, because what you're saying, your energy's low, maybe your body's changing, and then you're kind of doing desperate things like not eating for 36 hours. And it's so disordered and like having all these rules. I think it goes back to women feeling like they need to suffer to lose weight. They want to look good. Beauty beareth no pain. All this that you used to get said to you. And now, see, when I tell people, have a bit of chocolate if you want, they're like, what? Should you not be telling me I can't eat that? Like, it's they want that restrictive. I mean, I used to find it hard to just balance and eat well. It
Yeah.
would always be like an extreme diet, keto
Well, if you
something.
come from that bodybuilding world, that's not a surprise, right? And there's many women like you that are recovering from
A
the
hundred
this
percent.
yeah. And I think that, you know get your information, like this. It's really difficult to say get your information from trusted sources, but the trusted sources don't have diets to sell and stuff, and people really wanted the
They want
next
they
diet,
want
right? But
some.
yeah, like just find something that like really works for you. But one of the things I would try and encourage women to do is like focus on something that you're going to feel as a win, and that might be like committing to going out for a walk every day, or a run, or strength training 2 or 3 times a week, something that makes you feel good about yourself. Because when you start to get those feelings, it sort of catapults into the, oh well, I did a strength training class today and I'm not eating enough protein. That's the next thing I'm going to sort of look for. Or I'm going to remember that carbohydrates aren't evil and they're really helpful for my energy sources and stuff. And so I think that adding instead of taking away is a step forward, and changing the way we view food instead of as a punishment, but as an actual something we can enjoy,
I
right?
know, I know. I used to do that. Punish myself with food. Punish myself in the gym. Do you know what I mean? And it's not healthy. You've got to find that balance. But just before I let you leave and go on with your day,
It's been a right all round this, hasn't it?
I know, man, I wanted that though. So, what do we think of Davinia Taylor and all her supplements to cure cellulite and for hangovers? You've got a hangover. It does everything. So, what do you think of that?
Well,
I've got more people.
I don't know her. None of these people I know personally, and I don't care to. I'm not interested. But the stuff she's selling is just
MCT oil.
rubbish. It's rubbish. It's not backed by science. In fact, she often does. She's like when I watched some of her things before, it's like a word salad, and I'm like, I don't even think you understand what you've just said. But
She just
she's
said something
making.
about estrogen dominance and
Well, estrogen dominance
hangovers.
is a scam made up term.
Yeah,
It's not a medical
I
term.
used to believe in
Yeah,
estrogen dominance, and I
yeah.
thought that was one of the reasons that my mum got breast cancer. There was a lot of things, but it's not. It's not actually a thing, isn't it? I mean, that was years ago. I was kind of saying about
Yeah.
estrogen dominance, and it's hard when you've been saying it to people to try and backtrack.
Okay,
Now,
it's more respectful to backtrack, and so she's selling supplements. I would never support somebody that did that because a lot of the stuff she's selling is based on pseudoscience. So save your money. It's dead expensive as well.
very expensive, like
Yeah,
hugely. Stuff
yeah.
for cellulite.
So
Right, I'm going to
yeah,
scroll her off.
I might also add that the experts that I follow in the nutrition field have just wiped the floor with her so many times. There's really little she says that's evidence based. She's not an evidence based
She's
practitioner.
not. I send everyone that I think, oh, for fuck's sake, I send them to Abby. I just message her with
Yeah,
I've kind of got like a codependent sort of relationship with her now that I don't deal with anything myself anymore. And I'm just like, this woman's selling me stuff.
yeah.
So, what about people saying hormone hacks? Amanda, I can hack your hormones for £47. Shy or good?
I don't know. Well, I gotta like own up here. When I wrote my book for a year ago, I have the second part of my book. I call them let's think about how like I just call them the hacks, right? And that's all lifestyle stuff, like the four hacks, and it's literally exercise, nutrition. I mean, and I wish I'd not used the word hacks because now
Hack
it's
because,
like
oh God,
oh, it has a different connotation, but you can't hack your hormones. Your hormones are dynamic. They're meant to fluctuate. We have over
they do.
50 hormones in our body. What they may be saying to you is if you've got high cortisol, they can help reduce that. Or maybe they're talking about insulin, or maybe they're talking about estrogen or progesterone. I would just say, what hormone are you talking about? And what's the mechanism that allows you to say you can alter something? For example, if you've got high cortisol, unless you're on medication, guess what? The best thing you can do is exercise every
Yay.
time,
That's not.
and meditate or breathe or go for a walk. Like just move,
But it
right? And so that's,
it doesn't sound good on a t-shirt,
well,
fuck's
you know
sake.
what? It's free.
It's free. I love a good freebie. You'll know that with your man being Scottish. We love a fucking
Scottish. Oh
bargain,
goodness.
by the way.
Yes.
So
He's
seed
frugal,
cycling.
not cheap, apparently.
Yeah. Seed cycling. Cycling's
Debunked.
debunked. A lot of shite into it.
Yep. It's been debunked.
How busy are
Yeah.
you to then know what's... I don't even sometimes know what fucking day of the week it is, never mind what seed I'm meant to be eating.
If the person that's sort of talking to you about this is something called like a functional nutritionist or a holistic nutritionist, then that's your red flag. Just don't listen to them.
Red flag, man.
But you know what, right? Seeds are yummy and they're tasty and they can add crunch and texture and
I
some.
love a bit of crunch,
Yeah, me
but
too. And so I actually do have seeds and I sprinkle them on my porridge with a few walnuts and I just love the texture. But I am under no illusions that this is balancing my estrogen or
no, you don't feel
progesterone.
like you've just had a boost of testosterone when you eat your fucking Greek yogurt now. So, what about things like detoxes? No, red flag.
You mean diet detoxes?
Yeah,
Do
I see
you
a few
poo every
people's
day?
3 times a day.
Do you sweat?
I
Do you
sweat a lot.
pee? Yeah, there
Yep,
you go. Look at you
boom.
detoxing
I'm
the fuck out
fucking
of life.
detoxing
Yeah.
machine, man. Fuck's sake. And it didn't
You
cost me
do
anything.
you do
That's the
yeah,
key.
you do not need to detox. I
Yeah.
mean that like it's sold to you that your body's full of toxins and excess. I mean, I've heard that there's like your colon is full of like pounds and pounds of waste, and it's just not true. It's not true. And the latest thing is a worm parasite cleanse and a coffee enema
Hold
cleanse.
on.
These,
A
yeah,
worm.
A worm detox cleanse is the latest thing I've seen, and
No.
a coffee enema. Actually, people sell bags you
Well,
can stick of coffee up your
years ago
bum.
I've done it, Amanda.
Oh,
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it,
yeah.
mate.
Well,
I had a
yeah,
guru woman that was like all into that, and being a young impressionable gal,
yeah.
I have shoved coffee up my arsehole, listening to the theme tune of the S Express song, you know, that S Express. So I'll never really, no. But yeah, I used to do that. And do you know what?
You
You actually
you
feel
may
amazing, can I tell you?
you
It's
may
because you've
never
had a,
get over that.
no, but you've had a hit of coffee. Like it's like back in the day when people used to smuggle drugs, and if it burst, it's up your arse. It's very thin skin. So I mean, I used to have my coffee enemas, and I'd obviously do the toilet, and I'd be like, "Ah, fucking hell, I feel amazing."
Oh,
But
that's too funny. But you don't need to detox because the body's
no,
natural systems do that. You've got a kidney, you've
yeah,
got liver, it just gets rid of everything. Yeah. So you're
yeah.
good.
I'm good. I don't need to put Nescafe. I can actually just enjoy drinking a coffee now and not put it up. I
Take
was,
take coffee from the other end. Yes.
yeah, going to Starbucks like that. I will enjoy this. But I used to give it to clients as a threat. I'll make you do a coffee enema. You know what I
Oh
mean? But I
my
can't.
God.
It's just there's no evidence to prove any of that. Like it sounds
Oh,
crazy
no.
now, but I was lying in my bathroom floor at one point. You know what I mean?
But one of the things I would say is I know it's pseudoscience and I know there's nothing to support it, but what if it's dangerous?
Yeah. Aha.
That's my
What if
thing.
it's
What if it's
dangerous? I
dangerous,
think
right?
I've been lucky. To be fair, do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
You don't know, right? Like things don't stick things up people. Well, you
No.
can if you want, but I mean,
I mean, it
really,
depends what you're into. Don't tell
yeah.
Jen that I did that because I do. I'm trying to get her, but don't tell her I did that. So basically, we've just debunked everything, and we've ruined a few people there, haven't we?
Well, I try not to do anything personally because I don't care about them personally, right? It's really their message. And if their message is inaccurate, I think it's okay to criticize it and
I think so.
yeah, yeah. I haven't
I,
got a personal vengeance against anyone. I haven't got the energy all the time for that, right? But
we'll just give it to Abby to do, and she can do her thing that she goes on and does. That's so funny
yeah,
that in real life she's an introvert, isn't it? She looks like she
well,
just
she's
argues in the supermarket. I can just imagine these
no,
influencers, do you know, the new
yes,
ones,
yeah,
going into the
no,
supermarket.
she's a super really nice person, and she really does care for valid information, and that's where her work comes from.
I think it's as well like I'm now the market for people. You're getting into that, and my missus as well. She's starting to show kind of wee changes and stuff, and we're the people that other folk are trying to scam money out now. I'm like, I
Fight
know it's
back,
not happening.
yeah, fight back. It's
We
no
need to
one's got the
fight
money
back.
to do it anyway.
I know. Do you know what I mean? Well, it's only £8 for a coffee enema.
Oh no. Oh
I
no.
know.
Oh
It's
my
a
God.
bad time.
Actually, in fairness, that's quite cheap because I
I
think
know.
like in over here it would probably be about $200. Everything's so expensive really. Like I reckon you're probably talking $200 for a coffee enema.
Well, it
Please don't do
depends.
one though.
It depends how many white towels you want to go through because it's not. There's certain method to doing it that's not. It doesn't always work. I mean, I've had it up the walls and everything, Amanda.
I'd love to know who your audience is. Who
Yeah.
your audience is.
So that's what I'm saying. So I need to talk about. I'm like trying to phase out the coffee enemas. I was young and silly. Do you know what I mean? Like my
Yeah,
ex
we've all
partners
done.
will prove that. You can have a look at my ex partners. I was young and silly, and now I'm having to backtrack on the estrogen dominance as well. So I'm
Well,
like
one of the
two.
things as
It's only
well
two
is
things, Amanda. It's only two
you
things
have
in a
you have
20-year career.
children.
Uh huh.
But you've told me you've got children, right? That's
Yes.
sort of like, and it's really, I think that's a bit of a game changer because all of a sudden you're just like, it really matters, men or women, like it doesn't matter, boys or girls, like you can influence them, right?
Yeah. Easily they
And
can.
you want them to have a really healthy relationship with food, with everything they do, right? So, yeah, it's super important how we talk about these things.
I know, and you know, science changes, doesn't it? Give me
Yep,
that. It
yep.
changes. You've got to change with it. That's the thing. So
Or,
I'm
or
going.
pseudoscience doesn't change, by the way, and then we're
No.
both pseudosciences. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Can buy it off Davinia's website now for a hangover. She could sell sand to the Arabs, so couldn't she? I mean, see if you're on her Instagram for more than 10 seconds, I'm like that. Add to basket. You know what I mean? She's a
Don't do
proper
it. Don't
good
get sucked
saleswoman.
in.
Nah, I would
Oh,
never. I
well.
would never. I'm on all your guys' Insta now giving out the real information. But thank you so
Good
much,
stuff.
mate, for coming on and getting a chat with me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Take care. Thank you.
Text Jen.
I will.
Text her.
You want to go on?
I want
Oh my
her on.
God.
I want her on here.
All right. When next time she reaches out to me, I'll mention it to her.
Text her. Right. Thank you, mate. Enjoy your day.
Yeah, bye yourself.